For 30 years, no one had seen his real face. When serving coffee at Café Sunrise, he always wore a hat and bandana. Customers only knew him as the Burned Man. But that night, when the building caught fire, Tom Richards took off his hat and ran into the flames to save the 12 people inside. Because no one knew that those burn scars on his face came from Vietnam, when he tried to save 6 friends from a crashed helicopter. Welcome to the Vietnam Stories. Before we begin this powerful tale, tell me in the comments what city you're watching from today, and if you believe stories like this need to be remembered, hit that subscribe button. Café Sunrise on the edge of Traverse City, Michigan was never considered fancy. It was an old diner from the 1980s. But the coffee was good, and the owner, Tom Richards, always treated his customers with a smile, at least as much as they could see. Tom opened the cafe every morning at 5 a.m., baseball cap on his head, bandana covering the lower half of his face, trying to hide the scars with his shirt. The same routine for 30 years, quietly making coffee, serving customers, not talking much. The regular customers loved him. Tom never complained, always tried to help, but everyone was careful. They shouldn't look at him too long. The right half of his face was covered with burn scars that stretched from his neck to his hairline. The deformities were severe. His eye was shrunken, his ear was missing. 65-year-old retired teacher Sarah Johnson smiled as she sat in her usual spot and called out cheerfully, "Tom, bring me my usual coffee, honey." Tom Richards nodded politely and replied, "Sure thing, Sarah. 2 sugars, light cream. Coming right up." Sarah asked with curiosity, "Tom, how are you? The wind was so strong last night." Tom answered calmly, "I'm good, Sarah. I checked the cafe's roof. Everything's solid." Tom never talked about himself. Everyone knew he was a Vietnam veteran. There was a photo on the wall of a young pilot standing next to a helicopter, but he never spoke about those days. Local Sheriff Mike Peterson walked through the door asking, "Tom, this weekend is Memorial Day. You thinking about joining the parade?" Tom shook his head, saying, "No, Mike, I'll stay home. Thanks, though." Mike approached with understanding. "Tom, you're a veteran. The community should see you." Tom lowered his head and murmured, "Mike, some stories aren't meant to be told. They're meant to be lived." Mike Peterson tried to understand, but no one knew anything about Tom's past. They only heard he'd been in a helicopter crash in Vietnam, that the scars came from that accident. That evening, the cafe normally closed at 8 p.m., but that night was different. There was a power outage in Traverse City. People had taken shelter in the cafe. Tom closed late. Local Fire Chief Bobby Turner asked anxiously, "Tom, do you have a generator? The power won't be back until morning." Tom responded understandingly, "Bobby, there's a small generator in the cafe. Anyone who needs to can stay." There were 12 people inside. Elderly folks, a young couple, and a family. There were children, too. Young mother Lisa said gratefully, "Tom, thank you so much. The kids are scared of the dark." Tom smiled and replied, "No problem, Lisa. You're safe here." At 10:30, smoke began coming from the kitchen. Tom went to check the kitchen. The old electrical system couldn't handle the generator load. The wires had started burning. Tom shouted firmly but without panic, "Everyone stay calm. We're going outside." But it was too late. The flames spread quickly. The old building was wooden construction. The fire reached the roof in seconds. Bobby Turner called out desperately, "Tom, the exit doors are blocked. The main door is stuck." Tom quickly commanded, "Bobby, try the back exit." But the back exit was also on fire. The 12 people were trapped in the middle of the cafe. Flames surrounded them on all sides. One of the children began to cry. 8-year-old Tommy screamed in fear, "Mommy, I'm scared." Lisa tried to calm her child, comforting him by saying, "Everything will be okay, sweetheart. Mr. Tom will help us." Tom stopped at that moment. He looked at the child, about 8 years old, blonde hair, frightened eyes. Tom's mind went to that night in Vietnam. 1971, Mekong Delta. Tom took a deep breath. Then for the first time in 30 years, he took off his hat. His full face was visible. The burn scars were horrific, but there was something different in his eyes now. Determination. Tom said with resolve, "Everyone listen to me. I'm Tom Richards. In Vietnam, I was a Dustoff pilot, medical evacuation helicopter, and to this day, I've saved 247 people." Sarah Johnson whispered in amazement. "Tom," Tom commanded authoritatively. "Sarah, now's not the time to talk. Bobby, you're a fire chief. You need to trust me." Bobby asked hesitantly, "Tom, what are you going to do?" Tom said with the confidence of his past, "I'm not afraid of fire. In 1971, my helicopter crashed. I tried to save 6 friends. I saved 4. Two of them burned to death in my arms." Silence, only the crackling of flames. Tom declared with determination, "But that night I learned that fire can't kill me. I'm stronger than it." Tom went to the kitchen. He extended his scarred hands, clearing a path through the flames. Tom shouted, "Sarah, Bobby, give me the children!" Lisa protested fearfully. "Tom, it's too dangerous!" Tom said with an experienced voice, "Lisa, I know this business. Give me the children." Little Tommy said fearfully, "Mr. Tom, your face." Tom looked at the child lovingly and said, "Tommy, these scars give me strength. You don't need to be afraid." Tom first moved the children behind the wall of flames, then the elderly. Sarah asked in wonder, "Tom, how are you doing this?" Tom explained, sharing his experience. "Sarah, I learned in Vietnam. Flames are just flames. Fear is the real enemy." He moved them all to safety one by one. Finally, the young couple remained. Young Father Derek said courageously, "Tom, we can get out ourselves." Tom instructed with experienced pilot authority, "Derek, take your wife." Derek asked worriedly, "What about you?" Tom said with determination, "I'll be the last one out. Always, pilots rule." Derek and his wife passed through. Tom looked at the café one last time. His home of 30 years was burning away. Tom murmured sadly, "Goodbye, old friend." Outside, the fire department had arrived. Ambulances were lined up. All 12 people were safe. Fire Chief Martinez asked in amazement, "Tom Richards? Are you that pilot from Vietnam?" Tom confirmed humbly, "Yes, Chief, I'm that pilot." Martinez said with respect, "My God, you're a legend. I'd heard stories about Dustoff pilots." Tom replied sadly, "Chief, the legends died. I'm just a survivor." The paramedic was checking Sarah. Sarah turned to Tom and asked, "Tom, how did you do it? How did you walk through the flames?" Tom shared his pain. "Sarah, I learned in the 1971 helicopter crash, fear kills you, not flames." Sarah asked curiously, "That night, what happened in Vietnam?" Tom explained with pain, "I had 6 friends. The helicopter crashed, engine fire started, I was the pilot, I was responsible." Sarah asked anxiously, "Did you save them all?" Tom lowered his head and confessed, "I saved 4. Mike Chen and Joey Wilson, I couldn't get to them. The explosion was too fast." Sarah began compassionately. Tom said sadly, "I've been thinking about them for 30 years, every night. These scars remind me of them." Bobby Turner said respectfully, "Tom, you're a hero. Tonight you saved 12 people." Tom replied humbly, "Bobby, I'm not a hero. I'm just doing my job." The next morning, news crews arrived. Tom's story spread beyond Traverse City. Local news reporter Jennifer Walsh extended her microphone and asked, "Mr. Richards, you saved 12 people last night. How do you feel?" Tom answered simply, "Ms. Walsh, I just did what was right." Jennifer continued, "But you're a Vietnam veteran, a Dustoff pilot. You've saved hundreds of lives." Jennifer asked, "Mr. Richards, why did you hide your service for 30 years? Tom paused and explained, Because I remember the missions where I failed, not the successful ones." Jennifer said, "But last night no one failed." Tom smiled and acknowledged, Last night was a good night." That afternoon, a special visitor arrived, a man in military uniform. Colonel James Mitchell called out, "Tom Richards?" Tom came to attention and responded, "Yes, sir," Mitchell said reassuringly. "At ease, Tom. I'm Colonel Mitchell. I'm from the Pentagon," Tom said cautiously. "Colonel, I'm retired, have been for a long time." Mitchell said impressively, "Tom, I heard your story last night. It's still on television. Dustoff pilot saves 12 people from burning building." Tom said humbly, "Sir, I just did my job." Mitchell asked curiously, "Tom, have you ever wondered? Where are those 247 people now?" Tom asked in surprise. "Sir?" Mitchell explained, "Tom, you didn't just save lives, you saved families, children, grandchildren. Hundreds of people exist today because you saved them in Vietnam." Tom's eyes filled with tears as he murmured, "Sir, I was just a pilot." Mitchell pulled out an envelope and said, "Tom, I have something for you." Mitchell explained, "Letters, 247 letters. Every person you saved or their families wrote to the Pentagon." Tom protested in disbelief. "Sir, I don't deserve this." Mitchell insisted, "Tom, read these, you deserve it." Tom opened the first letter. It was from Mike Chen's son. The letter read, "Mr. Richards, my father, Mike Chen, never forgot you. He died last year, but he always said I exist because of you. Thank you." Tears flowed from Tom's eyes. Mitchell said understandingly, "Tom, you've been punishing yourself for 30 years, but the truth is, you're a real hero." Tom began with pain. "Colonel, Mike Chen and Joey Wilson," Mitchell consoled. "Tom, war is hell. You couldn't save them, but you did your maximum." Tom said sadly, "Sir, I can't forget them." Mitchell said wisely, "And you shouldn't. But the way to honor them is to keep living, keep helping." That night in the temporary café, because the community had arranged a place for him, Tom looked in the mirror one last time. Tom whispered to the mirror, "Mike, Joey, today I saved them, 12 people for you." Then he read the letters again. One of the letters read, "Mr. Richards, because you saved my grandfather in 1971, our family exists. 3 children, 8 grandchildren. We're all here because of you." Tom realized, maybe the scars weren't shame but honor. Maybe the past wasn't a burden, but a gift. The next day, donations for the new cafe began. The entire Traverse City community mobilized. Sarah Johnson said excitedly, "Tom, enough money has been raised for the new cafe and one more thing." Tom asked curiously, "What, Sarah?" Sarah said proudly, "They're going to expand the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. They're putting up a special plaque for you." Tom protested. "Sarah, that's not necessary." Sarah said firmly, "Tom, it's the community's decision. You're a hero. It's time to accept it." Hundreds of people attended the memorial ceremony. Mayor Robert Smith spoke. "Tom Richards has lived among us for 30 years, but last night we learned he's not just a cafe owner. He's a living legend." Tom stepped up to the podium. For the first time in 30 years, he would speak in public. "Friends, I'm a complicated man. I tried to hide for 30 years. But last night showed that some things can't be hidden." Applause rose from the crowd. Tom continued, "I saved 247 people in Vietnam, but I lost 2. I've been living with those 2 for 30 years. Tom paused and said, "But last night when I saved 12 people, I understood. The dead aren't there to haunt us, but to guide us." More applause. Tom continued, "Mike Chen and Joey Wilson, they were with me last night. They helped me save those 12 people." Tom looked at the crowd and said, "My message is this. Your wounds, your traumas, your past. These aren't weaknesses, these are strengths. They show you who you are." Standing ovation. After the ceremony, young veteran Michael Brown approached. Michael said respectfully, "Sir, I'm an Iraq veteran. I struggle with PTSD. Your story, it's inspiring." Tom said understandingly, "Michael, struggle is normal. But remember, scars are proof you survived." Michael asked, "Sir, how do you cope?" Tom advised Michael, "I make a choice every day. Will I live in guilt or will I live for others? I chose the second." Michael said gratefully, Sir, thank you, Tom invited. Michael, anytime. Come to the cafe, coffee's on me. That night, Tom looked at his new cafe one last time. There was a new photo on the wall, him with the 12 people he'd saved. Tom whispered to the photo, Mike, Joey, I'm continuing your legacy every day. Then for the first time in 30 years, Tom looked properly in the mirror. The scars were still there, but now there was pride, not shame. Tom said with determination, I'm Tom Richards, Vietnam Dustoff pilot. I saved 247 people, I lost 2, and I won't forget them. Tom folded his bandana one last time and put it in the drawer. Tom said with relief, no more hiding. The next morning, he opened the cafe without his hat. The first customer was Sarah. Sarah smiled and said, Tom, it's good to see your face. Tom replied, Sarah, I'm finally at peace. Sarah said, Tom, you were always a beautiful person, inside and out. Tom asked, thank you, Sarah. Your usual coffee? Sarah said, actually, Tom, today I want a special drink. Tom asked curiously, what would you like? Sarah said, Heroes coffee, extra strong, extra proud. Tom smiled and said, coming right up. And so Tom Richards was truly free after 30 years. The scars were still there, the memories were still there, but now they weren't burdens, they were badges of honor. Because sometimes the strongest people are those with the deepest scars. And sometimes you have to walk through fire to remember who you are. So do you have a Tom in your life? Someone who hides their scars but becomes a hero when needed? Share their stories in the comments. Because at the Vietnam Stories, we believe these quiet heroes should never be forgotten. If this story moved you, subscribe and share. Because behind every scar is a story, and every story deserves to be honored.